worth of life. He'll give you strife. He's Todd. He's tall, he's mean, he's labeling machine. He's Todd. Rides a motorbike, he'll tell you what it's like. He's Todd. Don't know what he'll say, he'll scare the kids away. He's Todd. He's Todd.
Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us today. Why this? You know, I'm having a bad hair day. I really am. And, well, here. So I decided not to shave the head this morning and go with the instant head of hair. And actually, I think it looks quite becoming myself. But hey, thanks for tuning in. Episode 43. And this looks ridiculous. Anyway, episode 43. And we're continuing our series on inviting other manufacturers to the table. All right. I'm reading some comments already, so thank you. So it's been a busy week. I spent busy 2 weeks. I spent last week in Arizona, and we're launching a new printer. Actually, we launched it on the 1st for 4-inch safety signage labels. And one of my customers, Lucid Motors, they're competing with Tesla and all those other ones. I actually got the opportunity to get one of these printers in my hands and print off some labels, and then hand deliver one of these to Lucid. And they're the first, I think, in the world to have one of these things. And so they were so excited about it that they offered to do a roadshow, BS with Todd. So coming up soon, I'll be live at Lucid. So stay tuned for that. Speaking of next week, and I'll go over a little bit more at the end of the show. Next week, we're having a special edition BS with Todd. So back to back, if you will, next Thursday. We're going to talk about that safety signage, and I'm going to have my very special guest, Mr. Dan Cobb, who also wrote that nice little ditty intro song, the BS with Todd song. So Dan's going to be on helping me, I hope, and we're going to talk about the safety signage. But this episode, so again, continuing what we're doing with the manufacturers, what I want to do and going forward, and I'm booked through February now, which is fantastic, with manufacturers lining up and wanting to be BS with Todd and so forth and whatnot. But this week, we're 606C encompasses a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of the thou shalt label this and thou shalt label that and blah 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 blah. But part of that is rackway, runway, ladder rack, and so forth and whatnot. I want to thank Mr. Patrick Johnson and the team at Ironwood Associates for bringing on my next guest. And he is with a company called Basor, and he's got a great story if we have time. But Tim is my new friend. We've met a couple of times, obviously, on here, and we're going to learn a little bit about Basor, what they do, how they can save you guys money, and then how labeling fits in with these pathways and runways and ladder rack and so forth and whatnot, and PVC piping and the different labels used to label PVC versus aluminum or steel conduit. So without further ado, Kate, if you could flip the switch on, I'm going to introduce Mr. Tim Place with Basor. Good morning, Tim. How the hell are you?
Hi, Todd. Nice hair, by the way.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it is, for me, it really is out of control. So you really can't. Well, you'll get there eventually.
I got a bit of a shine going myself here. So
yeah, hey, look at your future. I'm telling you, it's in your card. So anyway, thanks again for joining us this morning, Tim.
My pleasure.
And,
for having me.
I've gone through some of the product line, and I myself was a contractor, used to work for a living, actually work for a living installing ladder rack and cable tray and splicing and bonding and grounding and everything that goes with it. And you know what? It can be kind of a pain in the butt. All right. And wasn't my favorite thing to do, but it had to be done. But I think you got some really good stuff that actually would have helped me back in the day when I worked for a living. So without further ado, Tim, I'd like to learn a little bit more, as would our audience, about Basor and how you go to market and some of your exciting products that you offer.
All right, Todd. Well, thanks. I appreciate the time and the ability to do this. I've been doing cable tray for 36 years. Yeah, a long time. So I've seen every type of cable tray there is, and have done it. I've worked it. I've installed it. Like you, I've been in industry as well outside of this, and saw how it's used. And one of the things that you'll find outside of North America, cable tray is used a lot more. It's used for many things besides just data cabling. It's used for power tray, power distribution, where conduits exist in this marketplace. Cable tray exists outside of North America. And so I saw this, and I actually, I forgot how many, since 1990, I introduced a product into this marketplace called wire mesh cable tray. So I introduced that to North America, and I had two brands before what I'm doing now. So I started a brand called FlexTray. It was under private label. And then I went with the private label company that I made the deal with and started their North American operation, and eventually bought into that company. And it was called Cablefil.
I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it.
So
Nobody's ever heard of that out there, Tim.
I did that for a while, and for many years, and then I got tired of it. I got tired of just the everyday, I wanted something new. And so I retired for about 3 months. It didn't take me long to decide that I didn't want to retire. And so I got back into it. And now I'm introducing a company called Basor. I've been adopted by the family that owns the company. I have skin in the game, and I'm excited. And you might ask why I would ever do that again. What's, another tray? Well, I'll show you in a bit if you'd like. You mind if I?
Oh yeah, bring it up.
All right, I'll do that. See if I can get this to work here. All right, so this is what we do at Basor. We make cable tray, every kind. So why would I want to do this, since I've been in this industry before? Now let me go through these pictures. This is why. The first thing that I saw when I saw this company was some unique designs. Their wire is all bent. The longitudinal wires on the tray are all bent. And so when I inquired as to why that was engineered into the design of the product line, I was told, well, at first it was aesthetics, but then they realized, kind of like you found penicillin by accident, they found that when you bend a wire, you actually stiffen it, and it adds its strength to its strength. So you can actually reduce the amount of steel that you're wasting in the design. So they were able to make it up to 76% lighter. So you're being responsible with the product line. It's easier to carry, easier to install. There's lower cost all the way around, and still carries the same volume of cables that can fit inside that tray, that space, which was interesting to me, but it wasn't enough to get me hooked. I thought that was great. There's a lot of benefits into that, especially when you're doing the install. You can do it by yourself. But then I saw another thing they did in the design, and they put a little extra bend in some of their wider trays and deeper trays. And I said, why do you do that? Well, we have a problem when you stack tray, you're stacking air. In other words, when it nests together, there's a lot of air in between that. And so we wanted to find a way to reduce the amount of space the product would take when it's not being installed. So when it's sitting in the corner someplace, and a contractor, when they're putting stuff on a site, will touch that product at least 8 times before it's installed. So when they did this, it reduced it down to 67% of the same space used. So you could have 67% more tray in the same spot, which might not sound like that great of an idea, but it's a simple idea, and actually has a really good benefit, especially for distribution, for shipping, And on the job site, when the put down area is premium, you're having trouble finding it, you don't need things spread out all over the job site. You want to consolidate it. And it reduces the probability of loss and damage. That's where most of that happens anyway. But that wasn't enough to get me excited about it, Todd. This was. I asked, why this little thing that you're putting on the end of the tray? Now remember, I'd made this. I was manufacturing this product line, the wire mesh product line. A couple of different brands I'd been through, and because I introduced it, but I'd never seen this. And I said, what is this? Well, that is our splice, and it's pre-installed on the machine that welds the product line. It's all automated, and it results into having no tools necessary to do an installation. So when you bring it two trays together, you just snap them together. Our little, you can see us on a website. Our website, you can find us out on YouTube and our YouTube channel as well, where it shows this being snapped together. And we advertise, yeah, it takes you 4 seconds to snap it together. Well, it really doesn't. It takes about 1 second to pull it together. And so, again, no tools, nothing to drop on the site. I was visiting with a large general contractor who says they have now 0 tolerance for drops on the site. So if you're more than 2 foot off the ground and you drop anything, you're off the site. So that obviously is important to them. So there's no drops, no extra SKUs to worry about. One person can install it, no extra widgets. It is UL classified to carry the equipment ground conducting load on the system if you want to make that, or there's a requirement for that. So that's what got me hooked. And ever since then, it's been fun to introduce, because we're touching what the clients, the end users, the installers find the most important and the most difficult to find, and that's time. It's the hardest thing to deal with. So that little splice right there is what sold me, and I'm back in it and excited about doing this, building roadways, if you will, for cable management.
Well, you know what? I mean, just taking a look at this, I mean, it brings back some really bad memories when we were putting in, basket trays and ladder racks and stuff like that. And, one of the things I saw in here was, no tools necessary. And the other thing is, no 3 hands. And traditionally, when we put in any type of basket tray, you have a couple of guys, maybe 2 or 3 that are buttered up, and trying to work on the same thing. And, it just doesn't go well at all. And it's very cumbersome. And so I wish I would have had this, back in the day, if you will, way back in the day. But, you offer the basket tray, what other, I know I saw some other things on there. You've got some, I want to talk a little bit about some of your tray systems that you have, and then a little bit about, there was something mentioned about the PVC conduit in there. So you got a few minutes about that?
Sure. We make every type of tray there is. We're in, we're global in 50 different countries. Right now we have permanent stock or an office or manufacturing. So you can imagine touching those different cultures. You're also going up against local, either traditions or designs. And we have a cable tray basically for every one of those countries if that's necessary. So the different types of trays that are out there, but the main ones that you will find will be a ladder or ladder rack type of tray. You'll find a perforated steel type of tray. You'll find wire mesh, which is still the fastest growing globally. And then there will be some unique things. And PVC is actually what reintroduced me into the tray market. And I found wire mesh again, basically because I saw this first. And it's a PVC cable tray. You have PVC conduits out there, but there's a PVC cable tray. It's tray made out of just basically PVC.
Huh.
And you can see some of the large projects that we've done. It fits in different applications like food processing, around ships, ports, wastewater treatment, a lot around transportation. One of our bigger jobs was the country of Panama this was last year, had people movers all across. They had a large, and it's still going on. But we had multiple layers of our tray carrying their control, turning the power and the communications all along the track. So several hundred miles of it. You can see that around these tracks. Wastewater and data centers, outdoors, and solar applications. You can see it. So where there's cable to be managed, you can manage it in either a PVC or a steel or whatever makes the most sense for the project.
Yeah, that wire basket that is steel wire basket, right?
That's steel, yeah. That's
So,
steel.
I just thought of something. I had an epiphany, if you will. You and I were talking about, labeling these things, and there's 606 standards involved here, but I can remember trying to label wire basket, and it's not fun. We'd end up having to do a flag, and then taking the flag and kind of putting that over, some of the wire. But one of the things, and I'd like to try this sometime with our new printer. All right, it actually prints on magnetic tape, and so I'd like to try that sometime. And yeah, you know what? Because I'm telling you, if you can get a 4-inch, all right, a 3-inch magnet, you want to be able to, from the ground level, you want to be able to look up there, and you want to be able to see that label. Because if you're just putting a flag label or something like this, you're going to have to get up in the ceiling with a ladder, and you're going to have to take a look at it, and it becomes a nightmare. So, I'd like to try that sometime with that.
Yeah, there's something else, Todd, that you should know that we do. We share best practices with our customers. What do they do? And one of the things that we've done where there's high concentrations of cable and there's multiple clients, say in a co-location, you've got different needs than just, putting it in your office space and not getting it for 10 years. We make some things like a little designation plate. I don't know if you can see it right here, that crimps on the side or on the bottom of the tray. Also, these individual dividers that you can tie into your bundles of cable. Let me see if I can blow that up a little bit. And you can label right on these, and that's what they were built for, actually. It's labeling. And
hey, listen, you heard it from Tim. He's got the blank that you can put our label on. So,
let me give you an idea what happens though, and I think labeling is, and this is why you and I've talked about this. Labeling is so important. You can imagine in an application like this, what is all this? I can guarantee you in most places that we see, there's not any indication for the guy who comes in later and has to either pull something out or put something new in, what all this is. You can see these high concentration. This is a food processing plant right here. But basically what we're providing is a road, a pathway, if you will, for cables. We just build the road.
Right.
And you build the signs.
Yeah.
You make the signs. So if there's an off ramp, or if there's a on ramp, if there's multiple pathways, this is the HOV lane versus the slow lane. And if you don't put that on there, you got a nice nightmare, a mess. I did a presentation one time, Todd, down in Costa Rica, and when you look at the roads around Costa Rica, the central city there in Costa Rica, San Jose, it's hard to get into. And I put up a picture of an empty road out in the middle of the prairie. And I said, you think the designer of this road knew that, and then I took the picture of San Jose, that this city was going to look this way. And they didn't. So they needed a plan for that space. And so that's one thing that our product also offers, next time planning. So you look for growth, and then you put the signs up that you provide, and you're going to end up having a much better system, because it's your next cost that, as you as an owner, is going to be more expensive than initial install cost.
Yeah. So we actually got a question from Dan, and so the question is, does the tray work the same as the Cablafil? Can you cut it with a bolt cutter and make you trees 90-degree bends?
Yes. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same grid. all wire mesh there is the same grid, and that's what the design was for. To be able to cut and bend and alter it in the field, you can do that.
Okay,
Wait
good.
till look at us in January. I'm going to have something. I showed you the splice that comes together, the innovation. Wait till you see us in January. I'm going to have something really cool for the bends, because all that labor, again, labor. We're trying to take labor out. I got some really cool stuff for the bend.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I just got this. I just got this stupid, they call it a burner phone, I guess. My son calls it a burner phone. I asked him, is that what the druggies use? And I got it for some of our apps. We got a new app that doesn't work on iOS. And this is the first phone call. I haven't published this number. So those bastards, the spam calls, I know. So, well, listen, maybe we do another show after January, and we have you on here to kind of showcase, what you're teasing us about right now. So, with the labeling, some of the things that I discussed with Tim is that for those who have watched this show forever, for the tens of thousands of you, you know that I'm a big fan of asset management. I'm a big fan of barcoding, and in particular QR codes. And as you can see, I've got QR codes everywhere. But the beautiful thing about this, and where I really think that it can make a difference, you mentioned all the different roadways and the paths and the lefts and the rights and the stops and so forth. Keep in mind, there's only so much that you can put on a label. All right. Yeah. You run out of room. The beautiful thing about a QR, and one of the things I'll be talking to Tim about after this, is utilizing QR codes. So imagine that, you're either using a magnetic label or you're using one of those partitions that you can put a label on. But again, with a QR code, you can get 7,000 pieces of information on there. All right. And if you're using the alphanumeric, 4,200 pieces of information. So you can put things like the direction it's going, where it came from, the lefts, the rights, the turns, the stops, who installed it, when it was installed, so forth and whatnot. It really depends on what you want to put on there. Now you can put your typical alphanumeric, but the QR codes is what I'm really interested in moving forward and seeing this thing take off, because everybody now with an iPhone, or there's free scanners. Think about somebody going up in the ceiling and scanning that QR code, and then all the information they need is on their phone. So
I think that should be on the spec. I think that should be, if you're in charge of a spec in your building and you let somebody touch your equipment, it should be in a spec that if they're in, they leave a QR code that explains what they did.
Well, listen,
we're putting them on our packing slips now, and you're going to see coming out with our parts in our boxes. You'll be able to QR code and see how it goes together. So you don't really, have to pick up a catalog and say, well, how does this work?
Right.
You can go to our YouTube channel and it'll show you instantly how to make the install.
Well, I love QR codes, and I can see from, what you're talking about, the installation guides to everything else. There's just so much that you can fit inside of that QR code. So, for fire marshals, for anybody, in there afterwards, again, all that information can be put in there. Now, the other thing too is, we can do the QR codes on these size labels as well, so, take something like this. And I'm a big fan, back in the day when I was putting this stuff in, and if it's going into a, 12-foot ceiling and maybe an open infrastructure, the ability to stand down below and see what that label is, to me, is huge. So that way you don't have to bring the ladder in, put a guy up on the ladder. So there's lots of things you can do regarding labeling for that infrastructure, for that tray infrastructure. So the other thing I wanted to go over is, you got a lot of cables going in and out of that tray. You got maintenance, you got moves, adds, changes. So what you want to have is, you want to have a label that's going to be able to withstand that. So, we've talked about before, these labels: scratch resistant, scuff resistant, water resistant, UV resistant. It's a really tough label for an environment like you're talking about. Now, the difference between PVC labeling and, let's say, steel labeling, I want to talk about that for a second. So with PVC over the course of time may emit some of those, you can't see them, but there's certain chemicals that they emit over the course of time, and it can actually affect the adhesive that's on there. So we make an extra strength adhesive that's made specifically for those environments. On a conduit environment, you want to use our TZEFX tape. It's made for round and curved surfaces. So again, if you have any questions on how to label PVC versus aluminum versus steel versus whatever, reach out to me or reach out to one of my team, because it's important that you put that label on and it doesn't come off until you physically take it off again. You don't want that thing coming off or rubbing off in the ceiling. And so, Dan, I tell you, it's 10:24. I told you this thing would go like that.
Yeah.
It's again, I'm going to reiterate. I wish we would have had that splicing system back in the day. It would have made a huge difference. Thank you for pointing out, what you do, where you've been, and obviously where you're going. So I would like to do another follow-up show after January once you launch this new product. I think it would be absolutely perfect to get the word out there. Or anybody that is using your competitor, maybe give Basor. Did I say that right this time?
Basor, yeah.
All right. Well, I was doing the old Texas twang Basor earlier.
Fine, Basor. I don't care what you call me, just as long as you buy me.
Well, listen, I appreciate you this morning coming on, spending a few minutes with me. And thank you very much. Have a great rest of the week. And you know what? We'll be in touch. I think you and I have some great ideas. I like your idea of the spec, the QR code on the spec. And, we can certainly talk about that down the road. But I look forward to a great partnership, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it very much.
All right. So, Kate, if you would, we're going to show Tim's contact information. And if you want, well, let's see. Now let's do this first, and then we'll show. No. Let's show Tim's contact information. So, Mr. Tim Place. All right. So, if you got any questions, comments, concerns regarding Basor, please reach out to Tim. Tim's a great guy, and he's fun to talk to, and he really knows his stuff. Been in the industry for forever and ever and ever, like me. He's still got hair, so enjoy it while you got it. So anyway, if you got any questions, comments, or concerns on Basor, reach out to Tim. So our upcoming episodes, and like I said, I am booked through February, so we might be doing some ad hoc, special edition shows. So coming up on October 14th, next Thursday, we are going to talk about this right here, which is our new safety labeling, printer and materials. And Mr. Dan Cobb, like I mentioned before, will be joining me. And so I'm looking forward to that. On October 21st, RXL. So RXL does racks and cabinets and zone containment. So we're going to be talking to my friends at RXL. November 4th, I got softing coming up. We've had AEM on here, Trend on here. Softing will be on November 4th. And so I look forward to that one as well. November 18th, CPIs. We're going to talk about some PDUs, and David's going to be on here with me. And that'll be a good one as well. So again, if you're interested in joining and being a guest on BS with Todd, again, I think I'm running through February, but I think we may start doing special editions. I know that Kate was talking about doing some stuff on Instagram. I got that right. So Instagram, I think, is coming up. And let's see, NECA. Bruce mentioned something about NECA. We're presenting at NECA. So if you are going to NECA, they are going to have these there for you to see. So enjoy NECA. And I'll apologize ahead of time if you happen to run into Bruce out there, but just be forewarned. And so what else we got here? Burner phone. I think that's it. I'm not going to read the rest of the comments up here because this is a PG show. All right. So anyway, we got some great shows coming up. As far as how to contact the team. All right. Here we go. I am Todd Morris. I'm out of Vista, California. And we got Mr. Jamie Brook over out of Virginia Beach. We got Mr. Dan Cobb somewhere in Wisconsin. Mr. Bruce Page is out of Marblehead, Maryland. I still don't know where the hell you live, Bruce. Anyway, Rob Dawkins out of North Carolina. Craig Robinson, our glorious leader, hails out of the Bradenton, Sarasota area. So anyway, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or otherwise, oh, the new shirts are in. I forgot to mention the new shirts. You can see it right behind me. All right. So here we have the back of the shirt. All right. Here we have the front, and I still look like Uncle Phil from the Fresh Prince. Anyway, but that's okay. All right. Those shirts are available. We actually sold out of these things. Sold out is in free. All right, but I can say we sold out of them. So this actually went pretty quick. I like those shirts a lot, but the new ones are in. They're a nice soft gray. They run a little small, little form fitting on me, but you know, it is what it is. It's for you out there. So if you'd like a shirt, reach out to your brother manufacturer representative or reach out to the aforementioned team, and we'll get you some shirts out. I appreciate your time, as I always do every other Thursday. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday to talk about the safety signage. And with that being said, I don't see Kate yelling at me on my private chat, so I guess it went pretty well. With that being said, have a blessed rest of the week. Please stay safe out there. And thanks to the hundreds of thousands that have joined us so far. And I look forward to a lot of great episodes in the future. So be good. Thank you.